We live in an era of fandom. Everything from Star Wars to Marvel to DC, My Little Pony, and even Hell's Kitchen has a fandom. The idea that a piece of media or a celebrity or anything in between could bring together a group of people is a powerful thing.
After all, I am your biggest fan.
I've always wanted to make a video discussing The Incredibles at some point, and because it contains one of my favourite villain concepts of all time, and it's especially interesting considering the direction of who the main antagonist of the film was originally supposed to be. When Brad Bird was originally writing the film, the main villain was an old man named Xerix, who through the use of technology managed to discover a way to live for over 200 years, and also had an unhealthy obsession with Helen Parr, and decided after growing tired of his immortality that if he was going to go down, he wanted to bring the rest of the world with him. Syndrome was originally supposed to appear at the beginning of the movie and be immediately killed during a gas explosion, which causes the Parr family to move house, but due to the popularity amongst the producers, Xerix was eliminated from the movie entirely, and Syndrome assumed the role of the film's primary antagonist. Many people remember and love The Incredibles for its incredible mix of fun, action, and family-focused heart, but I do believe that Buddy Pine often gets overlooked in terms of how well he affects the events of the story, and how truly ahead of his time he was for a Pixar villain. Superhero films in the future have tried to replicate the success of what made Syndrome great, such as Aldrich Killian in Iron Man 3 or Electro in The Amazing Spider-Man 2. But those two villains miss clear marks on what made Syndrome such a layered character. Aldrich Killian never really got a chance to shine as the villain due to his reveal essentially being a third act plot twist, and Electro's portrayal by Jamie Foxx is far too tonally confused to be remotely threatening or interesting in a movie stuffed with too many other distracting plot points. Plus, where's the starfish mask, guys? Come on, it looks awesome. Why Syndrome works, I believe, is his focus as a character. Brad Bird had struck gold with him and knew exactly what type of villain he wanted to create from then on. That villain is the obsessed fanboy. Buddy Pine starts out as well-meaning enough, but his obnoxiousness and immaturity clearly hold him back, whilst Mr. Incredible is clearly seen as an introverted character preferring to work alone, perhaps a commentary on how superheroes want to protect their loved ones by putting the fate of the world all on their shoulders. Buddy is the complete opposite. He wants the spotlight and loves the idea of being a superhero, but you never get the feeling he wants to protect anybody or understands the true danger of what this role entails. It's this rejection by his idol that causes him to snap and eventually become a supervillain. Over the years, he preys on the super's desire to get back into the limelight, essentially using them as experiments to test his Omnidroid, reminiscent of the Silver Age of comic books, normally featuring quirky mad scientists as their main threat. Starting the film off in what appears to be the 1960s was a clever nod to this. Syndrome's plan is pretty straightforward and reveals a lot about who he truly is as a person. The film deals with the idea of whether having superpowers truly makes you special or not, and with Buddy Pine only relying on his technology, it makes him have a bitter resentment for those around him that he considers special. He even states that he plans to make everyone in the world feel as he did by providing the entire world with his inventions so that everyone can become super.
And when everyone's super, no one will be.
It's quite a dark theme for a children's movie to address, but it's all the more layered and complex for doing it. You get the idea that Brad Bird never wanted to make a movie that talked down to the audience, and this is highlighted further by a conversation Helen Parr has with her children regarding the villains that they are about to face. She states that these bad guys aren't like the kind you would watch on television with the comfort of knowing it's all fiction, but if they get the chance, they will not hesitate to kill them. It does a good job of raising the stakes, and Bird doesn't back away from it, as he does show several people getting killed on screen after, including Syndrome himself, quite brutally. Why Syndrome works so well to me is related to an issue that resurfaced lately in the news. We've seen dozens of articles relating to toxic fandom in regards to Kelly Marie Tran's choice to quit social media after harassment by fans over her role in The Last Jedi. Whilst these people aren't representative of all Star Wars fans, it's this loud minority that makes the most noise. They feel a certain ownership over a property they love, and perhaps don't truly understand. When the message of Star Wars was about finding balance and seeing the good in others, it's ironic to me that the people who claim to be the biggest fans are actually the ones doing the most damage to the brand as a whole. The same thing happened with George Lucas himself and actors like Jade Lloyd, Hayden Christensen, John Boyega, and Daisy Ridley. Going back to Syndrome and looking at how fandom has devolved into something so hateful, I have to admire that Brad Bird created a villain that was truly ahead of the times in that aspect. Whilst toxic fandom has always existed, the rise of social media allows it to be more present in our daily lives, and it bums me out. Does this bitterness come from a desire to be in the spotlight? Wanting to be the one who decides who's special and who's not? With the release of The Incredibles 2 this year, I do suspect that a lot of you will be rewatching The Incredibles at some point, so I ask you this. Consider that Brad Bird created this movie as a fanboy of 1960s era comics and sci-fi movies, and managed to create something that's loved by an entire generation, and likely for generations to come. Then consider that Syndrome, the villain, wants to take control of how the whole world should view superheroes and will silence anybody who gets in his way, even going as far to kidnap the par's youngest child at the end of the movie, giving it a last-minute dose of personal stakes. The last thing I will say is, given the state of current fandom, it's interesting to think about.